What does filmed for IMAX mean? It isn't just a movie that'll look great on IMAX's screens. It means that hiding from a sandstorm feels like fear in every flicker. And every triumph is felt in every sound wave. And the things we've only imagined, you can truly experience those too. That's what filmed for IMAX means. Get tickets to experience Dune Part 2 now and IMAX's exclusive expanded aspect ratio.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is...
Sesame, Frost, and Carta.
You're Frost again.
Yeah, I guess I am.
Yeah.
God, I was last time.
Hey, you were Frost a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
Yeah. So when you change your name from one name back to a name you used previously, do they charge you for that?
Well, no, I just kept it this time.
Well, no, like we had an episode in between where you went by something else. You went by Dwell.
Oh, I did. Right.
Yeah.
No, they didn't charge me this time.
Okay, that's good. I'm just making sure.
I kind of just left without paying, though, so I don't know, but...
Oh, yeah. They might not have filed that record, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right.
So they might have just made up whatever name they wanted.
Yeah, who knows what my legal name is right now. It might just be like asshole or something.
Yeah, Sesame, Asshole, and Carta.
Oh, God. That sounds bad. It sounds really bad.
Yes, it does.
Wow.
But I'll just call you Sesame.
Okay. That's
All right. Yeah. So today on the show, to wrap up the year, this is our last episode of the year. We are covering another holiday themed film from the Disney Santa Claus franchise, Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. Yes, it's a 2006 film, the second sequel in the series, and directed by Michael Lembeck, written by Ed Decter and John J. Strauss, starring Tim Allen, Elizabeth Mitchell, Judge Reinhold, Wendy Crewson, Anne Margaret, Eric Lloyd, Spencer Breslin, Lillian Mummy, Alan Arkin, and Martin Short. Yeah, so... Yep. Great cast.
Yeah, totally.
Totally wasted. Yeah, anyways, so... and maybe totally wasted is how you have to be to actually enjoy this movie when you watch it. I don't know, because I don't drink, so I don't know. But I know you liked it a little more than me, so...
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great.
No.
I liked it just because it was short, mainly. Martin Short. Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
So if Martin Short is in a movie, is it technically a short film?
If he's like the star, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Like if he's just like a guest or like a supporting, I don't think so. But if he's like
the main
like
star.
Let's say
like Clifford
or something.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, I've been seeing so many memes about Clifford lately.
I know.
It's such I think I saw it a long time ago when it came out. I don't even remember much about it.
I probably watched it like 20 or 30 years ago or whenever, but yes.
All I know is that I've heard it's really weird. It's kind of like a cult following.
Yeah.
Sort of like...
Yeah, he plays a child, so yeah.
Okay.
But he's a grown adult playing a child.
Okay.
Alongside what's his face? The dude from Charles Grodin. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, from Beethoven fame and stuff.
Okay.
Speaking of Beethoven fame, we got Judge Reinhold here, who is in one of the Beethoven movies we covered.
Years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was like 2019 or something.
Yeah.
The
one that we found out that the lead kid in that movie has disappeared off the face of the planet.
That's right.
Yeah. Nobody knows where he is. He just disappeared one day. So
I literally just disappeared. Like he's like a missing person, which is really fucked up and weird. Also weird because wasn't like in that movie, didn't they like try to like kidnap the kids in that movie at one point or something? Like
probably.
Or,
I don't remember.
Like the bad guy. I don't remember, but I just know they had like a van that was really creepy and like it was a weird one. I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, I don't plan to revisit it to find out either.
No,
but anyways, so back to this movie. So your initial thoughts on it are that it's okay.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, that's a little bit more generous than I'll give it, but it was, yeah. It was a movie.
Yeah, it was put on film.
Kind
It
of.
actually did quite well. $12 million budget, and it earned about $102 million.
110 million. 110.
110. Wow.
10.8 according to Wikipedia that I have in front of me. Yeah. So yeah.
So it made its money back, I guess.
Yeah, but you've got a built-in fan base. It's going to, but like Santa Claus 2 had a $65 million budget and made $172.9 million.
Okay.
And the first one had a $22 million budget and made $190.3 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So they steadily went down, but yeah. But that's okay, folks, because if you haven't heard yet, last year, the Santa Clauses premiered on Disney Plus for further adventures of Scott Calvin and his family. Yeah.
Yep. Doesn't it have like the other people too, like the Kurt Russell Santa Claus and like?
Oh no, Kurt Russell's in like a Netflix Santa Claus TV series.
Oh,
it's
I thought
completely unrelated. Right. No, what it is it's got like I watched the first season and they were trying to find somebody to replace him as Santa Claus.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know exactly what happens. I know like the first season, Cal Penn plays somebody that might be replacing him, who's like a toy executive, just like Scott was in the first movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, spoiler alert, that doesn't work out. So then there's like the second season. I know Fluffy's in it. Gabriel Iglesias.
Okay.
And so is Eric Stonestreet from Modern Family, both playing, I guess, potential Santa Clauses or old Santa Clauses. I don't know. I just didn't. Well, I watched one episode of it and got bored, and I was like, I'm done. I'm checking out right now. Maybe I'll watch it again later.
Yeah. It's not really a series, like a TV show type of story.
Yeah, I mean, the first season kind of did go okay, but like I started the second season and I just wasn't feeling it. I was like, okay, yeah. They should have somehow wrapped it up with the first season and just had that. There's like just too much space.
Yeah.
For it. But then again, you have something like this movie that tried to like cram in like 4 or 5 movies into one movie.
Yeah.
And that's my big issue with it.
It was short. It was only
like
8 minutes, something like that, 85 minutes maybe, and then there was a bunch of outtakes or like
it was like the official running time is like 92, and I'm sure that some of that is the credits, and some great bloopers that we'll talk about later that just kind of shouldn't have been in a children's film.
Oh really? I wasn't really paying attention at the end.
Yeah, we'll get to it. So, what goes down in this movie?
So it's kind of like one of those flashback movies where like Mrs. Claus is teaching class about math or something. Yeah, something to do with like one of those math problems where it's like if something is going this miles per hour and the distance and how many hours it take to get. But I hate those problems. I can never get those right. But
if a train leaves Washington at 3:30 p.m. on a Tuesday while it's snowing, and another train leaves Sacramento at 4 p.m. on a Friday, what time do they meet each other? Wait, what?
I just could never figure it out. It's too much going on at once. But one of the students pipes up and asks her, about something, and then she goes into the story about when she was in labor with their first child with with Scott.
Yeah.
And
that elf in the class is played by Abigail Breslin, the famous actress who is the younger sister of Spencer Breslin, who plays what's his name? The new head elf, Curtis.
Curtis, yeah.
And just another side note about Abigail Breslin. The same year she did Little Miss Sunshine.
Oh,
with Alan Arkin, who is in this movie. So.
That is messed up. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, just to kind of going through a flashback, she's in labor. It turns out that's a false alarm. She's getting homesick because obviously she hasn't told her parents that she's married Santa Claus because the whole secrecy thing or whatever. And so Scott has the idea to bring them to Santa Claus workshop and just pretend that it's Canada because they've never been to Canada, so they just assume because they've never been to Canada that they just wouldn't know the difference.
So my question here is: have her parents never seen Canadian television?
Yeah, exactly.
Or a movie made in Canada, or traveled to any other country in the whole freaking world? Do they just assume everybody in Canada is like 3 feet tall? Like, what?
Yeah. And like they're like, oh, we went to Rochester, New York, which is really close to Canada, and
well, once you cross that border, you can't grow anymore.
Yeah, apparently, because I had a friend that grew up partly in Rochester, New York, and upstate New York, and a lot of their cuisine, was inspired by Canadian stuff like French fries and gravy, background French fries, that kind of thing.
Like
It's very close.
Poutine and whatnot.
Yeah, poutine, stuff like that. So, but no, apparently everyone is short like elves the second you cross the border, and nobody is just, anyway, that's getting ahead of that. But
I mean, it looked just like Toronto when I visited it years ago.
Oh yeah, of course. You can tell that this movie only had a $12 million budget because it was like basically all filmed on a set. And
I mean, the fact that this movie, the third in the series, has $10 million less in budget than the first one.
Exactly.
Which was made 12 years prior. It's like, what the...
Exactly, yeah, because the first one was 94.
Yeah.
I've memorized that one because my niece, I mean, she wants to watch that like every single time she stays over. So I've just sort of been forced to just watch it with her.
I kind of got sick of that movie too. One of my ex-girlfriends loved the movie and would play it all the time, and I'd be like, "Oh God!" Yeah, like even sometimes in the middle of like July or something, she'd just be like, "I feel like watching the Santa Claus," and I'm like, oh, "Really?"
I mean, I remember watching it a little bit when I was a kid and stuff, but I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it. I like Tim Allen. I think he's pretty funny, but I don't like that movie. But
I mean,
anyway,
I like the first one. It's just like any other movie, though, for me. Like, if I watch it too many times, I hate it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And of course, that was during the heyday of the Home Improvement. So he was kind of like almost using like his Home Improvement character, almost a little bit into the movie, like the same kind of like stupid.
Well, Santa Claus was his first film, so it was like.
Was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, because I watched a clip of an interview with him the other day, and I think on Jimmy Fallon or something, and he was just saying that he told them when he read the Santa Claus script that it was the best script he had ever read, but it was also the only script he had ever read.
Right.
So,
I was like, wait a minute. I should say he's been a lot of good stuff. I mean, Christmas the Cranks.
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest. That's a great film.
Tim Allen doing Galaxy Quest is just perfect. I mean, I hear he's an asshole to work with. A
lot of actors.
A lot of actors have written about him being an asshole. I mean, he had major ups and downs with Alan Rickman on Galaxy Quest. So because Alan Rickman's like a real actor, and Tim Allen was like, I guess, using the fact that he was kind of scared. He was just being an asshole as a defense mechanism, supposedly.
Oh, I see.
So.
Then he was in Big Trouble. That's another one I like a lot.
Yeah.
With what's his name? Ben Foster. One of my favorite actors of all time. I wish he'd done more. Ben Foster. Anyway, I'm getting off
track. Yeah. So what happens here? We got
Okay. So there's like the second plot of that is because they want to fly up her parents to the workshop, and he enlists Sandman because like the other part of the film is that there's like this council of legendary characters.
Legendary creatures. Nature. Yeah, they were introduced in the second movie.
Okay.
And it's interesting because Peter Boyle plays Father Time, but he also played Scott's boss in the first movie.
That's right.
So I don't know if they're the same person or it's just random that
it is.
He looks and sounds exactly.
Maybe Scott became Santa Claus, and then that sort of infected the boardroom, and then something happened to Cupid. And then he became he became Father Time.
Yeah.
And so like there's like this council going on because they basically want to pretty much like imprison Jack Frost because he's like freezing parts of the world that shouldn't be frozen, like South America, places like that. And it's because he's jealous that he doesn't really have like his own holiday, like Santa Claus pretty much steals his thunder, so to speak.
Like he's a magical creature. I mean, but then again, like Sandman doesn't have a holiday, Father Time has like New Year's, but
he's just the only one just jealous about that.
Yeah.
And so he's been acting out basically like a kid, like he's just stomping his feet and he wants the fame and the glory and whatnot. So, Scott tries to, yell at him a little bit like, hey, like this is not really an easy job for me. I got all this stuff going on. And then, Jack Frost kind of gets the idea like, oh, maybe he doesn't really like being Santa Claus that much. Maybe I can, sort of take over, move in a little bit, and then we kind of learn throughout the movie that there's like this thing called the escape clause, where what was it? Something about the ornament? I mean,
there's a snow globe, and if you're holding the snow globe or something, and you say the phrase "I wish I was never Santa Claus at all," I'd never been Santa at all. You get back to being real or whatever.
Which makes no sense because in the first movie he was forced to become Santa Claus.
Exactly, because it and in the first one the clause said that he was Santa Claus basically until he died.
Yeah. Exactly. So they totally.
But the second movie, they make it so he can't stay Santa Claus unless he gets married to somebody. And this one, they have this escape clause, like these clauses that never existed in the first place. And with the TV series, they've got more clauses, hence the Santa Clauses. So they've got so it's like
wow,
yeah. It's just so like I don't know, retconning everything.
Do you have dreams that you want to achieve, but are scared to do so due to self-doubt, fear, and other people's criticism? I have just what you need. You need a dose of the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, where I interview guests that will motivate and inspire you to stop at nothing to achieve your dreams. And always remember, if you believe, you can achieve.
The Living the Dream with Curveball podcast is available on your favorite podcast app.
Hey, everybody. Why don't you give the old Black Lincoln Collective podcast a listen? We're funny, we're fat, and we're here 24/7 at blcpodcast.com. Anytime you want to listen, anywhere, all your favorite podcast apps. Of course, we have a YouTube channel where you can stream live with the show. Check out our shorts. We're funnier the less you hear of us. That's been a Black Lincoln Collective podcast at blcpodcast.com.
I will tell you one thing, Martin Short's Jack Frost, the way he looks, he's got this zoot suit on and like better frosted tips than any boy band at the time. And, it's just like, he looks good. Yeah.
No, he does. It's a cool costume. It really is. And, he did what he could with the role. I mean, and not so much the
badly written role. Oh, boy.
Yeah. And so he pretty much begs Scott to not, I guess, imprison him or do whatever they're going to do to him and let him work at the workshop. Is basically kind of like his punishment or whatever. I don't know. So Scott,
he's doing like community service at the North Pole or something.
Yeah. So Scott lets him do it. And, at first, he's kind of working hard, but he kind of eventually goes back in his old ways and just kind of like lounging around and having all the other elves do the work for him and kind of thing like that. And he learns about this escape clause from Curtis by kind of playing up his ego a little bit, like, oh, you don't really know about stuff, do you, or whatever. And he goes and just blurts out.
Yeah, Curtis is an idiot. I'm just flat out. Bernard, who was the head elf before him, played by David Krumholtz, who couldn't do this movie because of a couple things. He was doing Numbers at the time, the TV series.
Oh, that's a great show.
Yeah. So he was off solving crimes. And but he also, they were willing to work around his schedule a little bit to get him in the movie, but he read what they wrote for him and he hated it, so he said, no, I'm not doing it. So
he's like I'm not in the And so there's the C plot. So there's three things going on. So the C plot is Scott, ex-wife, and then
Neil, his husband-in-law, as my dad would call it.
Yeah,
my dad and my stepfather call each other husband-in-laws.
That's great.
Yeah,
and then and Lucy is their daughter. For some reason, I don't know why Charlie didn't go, but Lucy pretty much begged Scott to let her go, and then Neil pretty much guilt tripped him by saying, "Oh, if you don't take her, then it's kind of like she's not part of the family or whatever because he took Charlie, that kind of thing, whatever."
Charlie went snowboarding.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was going. Yeah, okay. So Charlie's 16, 17 at this point now, and so he's really not much in the movie. And Lucy, one of her things is that she loves snow globes.
Conveniently, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So she has 12 of them already. She collects them. That's kind of her thing, So, but she shows up to the workshop. She kind of hears about it. or something. I forgot. I think Jack Frost told her about it or something like that. And
Scott showed her the snow globes.
No, sorry, Scott showed her.
Because she ended up showing Jack where they were.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And then so I'm kind of skipping over a bunch of things, but that's all right because it's terrible. But and then so Jack goes into like the secret room. He grabs the snow globe, and Lucy catches him in the act. She goes to run and tell her parents about what happened, and Jack Frost potentially murders her parents in front of her by freezing them.
Yeah.
And then is to freeze her, but then decides to, you know what would be better if I don't freeze her, is make her go in the closet with her frozen parents and stay in there.
Yeah, lock her in there. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the worst punishment than just freezing her. But again, so we got like a narcissistic sociopath here.
Child
and
abuse.
And there's another thing too.
I think all Jack Frosts commit child abuse. That's all I'm gonna say.
I think so. No, throughout the whole movie, he's just a terrible person. So there's another thing that would come in later on is that the Scott said that Lucy's hugs have like magic powers or something like that.
Yeah, he gave her a special snow globe that had her hugging a snowman and turning it pink.
Yeah, so this will come in handy throughout, conveniently near the end of the movie. So so what happens is Jack is sabotaging everything that's going on in the workshop. He's like breaking machines on purpose. He did something to the Christmas tree to make Scott fall and break the star ornament.
When that happened, they're all in this room and there's a huge fucking fireplace in there that looks like Scott's face.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'm just like, if I walked into anybody's house besides Santa Claus, and I'm Alan Arkin and Anne Margaret here, as the in-laws that don't know that he's Santa Claus, I'd be like, why the fuck does my son-in-law have a big fireplace that looks like his head?
I would just take my daughter and run. Like, this guy's a complete psycho. And I don't care if he's like a toy maker or whatever. Like, this guy's gonna murder you or like chop you into pieces or something like that. Like,
I know, and throw you in the fireplace.
Yeah, it's like, listen, we're leaving now. So Jack is like, he's like making like the list go out real fast. He's convincing the elves to stop working so they can take cocoa breaks, and he's like telling each group of elves like the different recipes of the cocoa, like with just a hint of vanilla or cinnamon or whatever,
and he
that type of thing.
He has a scene there too where he's like completely flirting with Anne Margaret's Sylvia.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like, and having her sing Jack Frost nipping at your nose. I mean, I think that was just an excuse to get Anne Margaret, who can sing well, to sing in the movie.
Just that line, particularly that one line,
and it just made him happy. But he's like totally like, seems like he wants to get it on with her or something there. So yeah, it's like, okay.
Yeah. Then he asked her if he could be her elf, because he's been asking other people if he wants to be an elf for him. So I guess he's trying to already create his own like army of elves to like do a coup on Santa Claus, I guess is what his plan was. I don't know, who knows. But then his new plan was, now I'm gonna steal the globe and I'm gonna get Santa so worked up that I'm gonna then pretty much have him hold the globe wrapped in as a present, and then have Scott basically say the magic words or whatever, and then it magically makes Jack become Santa, and then it transports Scott back in time to when not back in time.
No, it takes him back to like current time, but there's an alternate timeline.
Yeah,
I mean they were doing this shit before Marvel, and
totally, they were doing like the time gem or whatever.
And he comes into his current life where he's like this, he stayed at the company. He became, I guess, replaced Peter Boyle's character as the head of the company and is like a complete asshole to everybody, and gets in his car, his nice sports car, and drives to his ex-wife's house to see his son. Then what happens there?
It's basically a very unhappy family. He's like acting out and shit. His mom is completely stressed out.
Yeah, he's acting out, and he's wearing one of those beanies, so he looks like Jesse Pinkman or something. And,
so he thinks he's
he's
cool.
Yeah.
He wants to meet up with one of his friends. His mom tells him not to go, but then he goes anyway. She's obviously stressed out, not really happy. And of course, just like with all these movies, he's asking questions like, what happened? You're like, how do you know that what happened? That whole thing or whatever. You're the one that caused all this, type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of wants to do this like It's a Wonderful Life sort of thing, but in a way, instead of I never became Santa Claus instead of I was never born. Yeah.
Yeah. So we learned that her and Neil got divorced, and that he's taking Lucy, quote, to the North Pole, and then it turns out that Jack has turned the North Pole into like a thing where like you can just fly up there and go to the North Pole.
It's like a theme park, and it's just really interesting to me that a Disney film is talking about the like horrible commercialization and greed of theme parks in one of their movies. And it's like,
yeah, exactly. It's
yeah.
Like, what the hell? And then,
like, do you realize you're kind of shitting in your own pot there? I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. It like, it's typical Martin Short thing. He's acting all Martin Shorty and stuff like that. It's Jack Frost or Santa Claus or whatever he calls himself. And then maybe he calls himself Frost Claus, who knows. But they got like a petting zoo for the reindeers, and they're unhappy. The elves are pretty much unhappy.
Some of the things I heard in the background were like things like you can pay to shave a reindeer.
Yeah, that was one.
Yeah,
just terrible stuff like that.
Yeah,
and then all the kids are unhappy. The parents are unhappy. And all
it totally shits on the whole like commercialization of theme parks, basically.
Yeah. And then Jack is like, oh, I've been waiting for you, basically like 12 years for this moment or whatever, and the whole thing's like a pay as you play kind of thing. Like you can't, like, you have to pay to be on the nice list and stuff like that. Like, you can't just be good. You gotta fork over.
Basically, you have to go to the North Pole to get presents from Santa, and you got to pay for them.
Yeah, you gotta pay. Yeah. So you gotta go there, because he said it was much easier than having to, fly around the world or whatever. Just total asshole, and so and which is weird to me. So he meets up with Neil and Lucy. Neil's also really bitter, I mean, he blames Scott on them getting divorced because Charlie always resented him because, Scott never wanted to be in his life, and Neil tried to step up, but Charlie never liked him or whatever.
Yeah, it was basically the whole thing where it wasn't that he didn't like Neil as much as he just wanted Scott to be his dad and not Neil, so it kind of created this tension that basically split up the mom and him. Yeah.
Right, so he's all bitter and angry. Lucy doesn't like, this was weird. Okay, so she clearly doesn't like him because she's like, oh, hi, Mr. Calvin or whatever his last name. And then her personality is a little bit worse than originally, but not a whole lot, which is okay. But then like 10 minutes later, when they're watching like this dumb performance that Frost has every night or whatever.
Yeah, he's doing like he's doing like a reworded like parody song of like New York, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like about the North Pole instead of New York. Yeah.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
And like the elves are not having fun, like the guy playing the piano or whatever. It's just like, oh, God damn it, gotta do this again every single night,
Yeah.
And then he starts talking to Lucy, and he's like, "Oh, do you still like snow globes?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then like her personality just completely changes back into like the regular Lucy from the prime timeline. It's just like, why would she be acting that way when she like hates his guts? Like, and then he convinces her to, go steal the snow globe, and he'll go and create, diversion or whatever.
Yeah, and be his accomplice in this whole thing.
And so what happens after this?
So earlier in the thing, he ran into Curtis, and Curtis showed him these little pens that look like suckers or whatever. Like they got like little like mint like suckers on the top of them, but you can record voices on them. So it's the Chekhov's gun sort of thing. You introduce it, so then it's going to come into play later. Yeah, because you don't put a gun there unless you're going to fire it later. So he basically is given one of those by Frost when he's talking to him, and Frost says something like, says the line, he's just repeating back what Scott had said earlier, and Scott's recording it secretly.
Get it?
Yeah. So he's got Frost saying the phrase. So here's the thing. So the magic of this works even if you don't really mean it.
Yeah, just say the words. That seems kind of
lame.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But anyway, so later on, Lucy sneaks into the snow snow globe area, which is near these like vending machines, one of which is a red deer instead of Red Bull machine.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. They looks just like the Red Bull cans and stuff, but it's got deer on it instead of bulls. She gets the globe to Uncle Scott there, and he basically plays the thing, so they go back to the time when they switched before, and will allow Scott things to go through, and 12 years ago Scott gets to become Santa again like he did in the first movie. One of the things I noticed in the scene though is they're like wrestling on the ground in the snow, and Martin Short's head hits the snowman that's sitting there. You can literally hear that it's styrofoam. Like, they picked up the sound of it, and it cracks a little bit like styrofoam cracks, not like snow cracks.
Hey, $12 million budget.
Yeah.
How much do people get paid to be in the movie if it's only $12 million?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I'm wondering how much like Martin Short and you've got like some notable actors in this movie too. I mean, obviously, yeah. Go ahead. I was gonna say obviously like Martin Short's not gonna get as much as Tim Allen probably, but he's still like a bankable star, and you've got established people like Alan Arkin and stuff. So it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if like the budget doesn't include like how much people are getting paid to be in it. Maybe it's like other stuff, like
I mean, it could be too that they the budget, like they may have negotiated back end deals where they got like a smaller fee up front, but got more money based on how much the film made at the box office. So,
right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. That would probably be it. And I mean, I think, I'm pretty sure like Tim Allen's an executive producer on the film too. So it's like, yeah. So,
yeah.
So, but anyways, they go back to where they were, and, he and Mrs. Claus had been fighting, and but he comes in, he's like, oh, I'm so happy to see you, missed you and all this other stuff. And to her, it's only been a couple minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And, so he, and Jack's back there, and then they find out, basically then, he decides that, family should know the secret, like, which he should have probably done in the fucking first place. And also, I think his in-laws are the stupidest people on the planet if they didn't realize that. Didn't realize. So then he takes them into the Santa's workshop, and and all of a sudden, Mr. Negativity Alan Arkin is like, oh boy, my son-in-law is Santa Claus, so that makes me father-in-law Claus or something. It's like,
something stupid like that. Come on.
And the Easter Bunny comes by and says hi to them, and the way he says hi to Sylvia, Anne Margaret's character, is very like, kind of like flirty.
Creepy. Yeah.
Really creepy. So they also so they come back, and they figure out too that Neil and Mrs. Neil, what's her name?
I don't remember. Mrs.
Neil.
I don't remember.
Laura.
Yeah.
Laura is her name. Okay.
Yeah.
Are frozen in this thing. Lucy gets out of there, and they figure out that is. But for some odd reason, there's a random rule that they can't be unfrozen unless Jack Frost is unfrozen.
Yeah, of course.
Which makes no.
It doesn't.
So there's no precedent for it. There's nothing earlier in the movie that told us this. Nothing at all.
No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they realize that the only way to unfreeze him is for magical Lucy to give him one of her magical hugs and melt his heart. So it's like, hey Lucy, you know that guy that froze your parents and stuck you in a fucking closet? He abducted you. Go give him a hug.
Yeah, and then melt his heart.
Yeah.
And then, it works. But here's my question. So if he's no longer Jack, so that's what I was saying. This movie is also not so subtly pro global warming, because it's like, there is no Jack Frost anymore. So who's going to freeze the world when he's frozen? I guess no one. So we're just not going to have winter anymore. Yay. I mean, Tim Allen is a conservative, so it kind of does track a little bit, like maybe,
Still.
I just.
Yeah, I know. I don't think they were thinking that through at all.
I know.
I know. But it is a plot hole though, completely, because there's tons of plot holes like in the whole series. Like I've got a question about Mrs. Claus. So when the other Santa Claus that Scott replaced died, did he have a Mrs. Claus? And what happened to her?
Yeah, wait a minute. What happened to her? Does she die with them? Like if Santa Claus dies, just like at the same time.
I know.
I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, because I mean, it's like the whole idea of Mrs. Claus anyway. She's just like an afterthought. So it's like, like in popular culture, she's kind of an afterthought. And now like in this movie, she's like in the second movie even too, she was like an afterthought, even though she was the plot device in the movie. It's the whole like, oh, men are important, women are just kind of second class citizens sort of thing,
Right.
Yeah, they're just there to make babies and bake cookies and whatnot.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Like why you would need to have a Mrs. Claus to be Santa Claus. Like I just don't understand.
I don't get it either.
Like it's like if she was actually doing, well, I guess technically in this movie she was like a teacher, so maybe
yeah. I mean, she does have some functions in the TV series from what I remember too. So it's like she does, serve some kind of purpose, but it's like, especially in this movie though, besides the teaching thing, which is also a stereotypical female role. But then again, in the second movie, she was a high school principal, so it does.
That's right, she was.
So it does make sense that she would be a teacher, so it's not too off base. But it's still, I don't know. I think it's a little sexist. Yeah,
maybe,
yeah, possibly. So basically, everything is all groovy. It looks like at one point that Alan Arkin's character is like he's like laying his head on top of on Aisha Tyler's shoulder, who plays Mother Nature, like he's almost he's trying to flirt with her or something too.
Got like a really into thing to her, like because her was like, oh, who's this kind of thing, So Santa Claus 4 is going to be basically Alan Arkin and his wife. They get divorced. She goes off with Jack Frost because they were kind of flirting in the beginning of the, Santa Claus 3. And then he tries to become partners with Mother Nature, but she doesn't really like him that way. So then he just becomes like obsessed and like he becomes depressed and
then he
starts like drinking a lot and stuff like that, and
then he gets like wasted on eggnog and then he kills her.
Well, I wasn't going there. I wasn't going there, but I was
no. But anyways, so the bloopers at the end.
Okay, yeah, tell me, because I wasn't really paying attention.
Okay, there's these couple of scenes here where they've got the Easter Bunny played by the late Jay Thomas, who people may know as Eddie Lembeck from Cheers.
Okay,
yeah, he was Carla's boyfriend on there. He which I didn't know because he didn't sound anything like himself in there because he was doing kind of a voice. But so he's standing next to Sylvia and Margaret's character, and he says to her, "I'm built for speed and comfort," in a really creepy sexual way.
Wow.
And then right after that he says, "Do you like carrot juice?" Made me wonder where the fuck the carrot juice is coming from. And the way he said it sounded completely sexual.
Wow.
And this is a PG or PG-13 movie or whatever it is. So yeah. So
well, this was during that phase, maybe they still do it, I don't know, where like they had to like throw stuff in there for the adults to like taking their kids to dumb stupid kid movies, but it's like you don't have to always do sexual innuendo stuff.
Yeah, it's like it was like but the way it seems to me, like those shots, because they weren't like anything that was used in the movie, they weren't like outtakes of anything that was in the movie. If they were going to be in the movie or anything, it sounds like they were either really badly written in the script or Jay Thomas just like improvised those lines because he's standing next to Anne Margaret, who is like a sexual icon, so it's like I don't know.
No.
Because I mean, she's like basically considered one of the most beautiful women who ever lived. So it's like I don't.
Oh, really? I didn't even know who she was.
Yeah, she was in the like in her older years. She was in like the grumpy old men movies. But she was in like Bye Bye Birdie when she was a teenager. She was in like a lot of things. But she was like one of those like kind of like girls that a guy would have like a poster of on his wall back in the like.
Oh, okay.
In the 50s or 60s or something, sort of thing. So, yeah. And, Jay Thomas being born in 1948 would have been the, like, ideal, like, target audience for her, her back in those days. So, it's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I don't know. It's like the anti-blooper where it's not really even a blooper. It's like... I don't like that when they do that. Where it's like, oh, we're going to do a blooper reel, but we're actually just writing this in there. So, like, okay, so it's not a blooper. It's just part of the script.
Yeah, so, it's like when the Pixar movies do bloopers. And you're like, you're an animated film. You don't have bloopers.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Wait a minute.
I remember that time in the like 90s though, when like every sitcom would end with bloopers.
Yeah, I do.
Like you'd be watching Fresh Prince, and all of a sudden it'd be like all these things, and most of the bloopers were stupid. It'd be like, "Oh, Will can't say that line."
Yeah, I never. I
don't get it.
That's bringing back some kind of like bad memories of just like that stuff always made me feel like just like I'm not uncomfortable, but just like just didn't like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like it's kind of made me feel bad, almost like why are they doing this? You know, just not fun, stupid.
I mean, sometimes they're cool, like especially on something like a film that was like heavily improvised, and you want to show the bloopers of that or something. That can be good, like like maybe
sure.
bloopers from like a Christopher Guest movie or something. But I don't even know if they did that in any of his movies. But something like that would make sense to me. But the Santa Claus 3, no, we don't need to see. No, you're just trying to pad out the movie to make it seem like it's longer.
Yeah, because it's pretty short. It's only about 85 minutes of actual runtime.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they were trying to fit like the amount of story for like all of the Lord of the Rings movies into this one fucking film. It was just like
one. Well, that's another thing too, is that like the whole thing with Jack Frost becoming Santa Claus like only started within like the first 45 minutes of the movie, and then it's like halfway over or even more than halfway over by then.
Yeah, and then that whole the whole thing where like you were just saying, with Jack Frost becoming Santa Claus is like seems like what I think they should have done with this movie is like maybe have it start with that idea, like have one scene set it up or something where maybe Scott wakes up and he's not Santa anymore, and he's got to figure it out and make the whole movie kind of that premise.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Play up the whole like It's a Wonderful Life sort of thing where you go into that, because like in It's a Wonderful Life, that was hard to say. It's it's like it's like at least half the movie where not half the movie, maybe at least a third of the movie, I should say, where he's in the alternate universe where he wasn't born, and but you also get the whole setup of who he is. But this is a third movie in a series where you already know who Scott is.
Yeah.
So we don't need to be introduced to him like we did, George Bailey or something, So
yeah,
I don't know. It just could have been written a lot better, and this could have been actually split into like 3 movies. I'm glad it wasn't, but it's just...
yeah. It's like the Harry Potter thing when they split up the last movie into 2 movies.
Yeah.
You got to do this because Santa Claus 3 is so in-depth and so complex that
they
we need to dedicate another.
They were doing that with a lot of those like teen books, like that, and then like they did it with like the Twilight and all that stuff, like where it's like the last book's got to be turned into 2 movies or something. I think with the Hunger Games they did the same thing or something. So it's like...
Yeah, they did a 4th without doing a prequel, or which is seems kind of interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, this movie could have been a lot better, I think, if you would have just pared down the plots. I mean, like I was saying, it's like they were trying to fit the Lord of the Rings into a 90-minute movie, but honestly, there are less plot points in all 3 of the Lord of the Rings movies than there are in this one film. So yeah, I don't know.
But I will say this though, I still like his costume or whatever. Jack Frost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love the frosted tips. I mean, they're nice.
I mean, that's like that. It's got Justin Timberlake just begging to know his hairdresser. like, how did you do this, bro? Like,
but like when they turn him into a regular person, he looks like crap.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, you know what? Like, I should have just kept him looking the same and just like be a better person, Because
somehow I guess spiky frosted tips means you're a bad boy. So now that your heart's been warmed, you got to have like nerd hair. It's like, I don't know.
I love it when Martin Short has like hairstyles that like are way younger than like his age group, peer group, supposed to be. Like it just makes him look like cooler and weird. Like for example, he was in this movie called Get Over It, like Ben Foster, another reference.
Oh yeah.
And he he was like the drama teacher, in that movie.
Yeah.
And like his hair just like is not the way his hair should be looking,
No.
But I don't know, it just kind of makes him look like cooler and funnier in a way. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, any other thoughts about this movie before we wrap things up?
Just don't watch it. So it's not worth. It's really not worth 80 minutes of your time. If it's on TV and you got nothing else to do and you're just kind of looking at your phone, just have it on. Maybe, I don't know. Even then, I would say no. But
if you're trapped in like your dentist's waiting room and this is on the TV in there,
just go. Just leave. Go find another dentist.
Another dentist.
No, seriously, leave, because you're gonna get. It's just a short foreshadowing of what's to come. Like, just don't do it.
If you walk into an appliance store and it's playing on all the TVs in there, just leave. Buy your TV. Yeah. Buy your TV somewhere else. Just because you
buy it online or something.
Yeah. Actually, what you should do, if it's playing in the dentist office waiting room, find the closest thing and throw it at the TV and break the TV, and then
just break the TV. Or when your appointment comes in and they bring you to the office or whatever, and tell them, all right, you got to pump me full of nitrous now because just watching this brought me severe depression and anxiety. And I can't go through this work because of that. So congratulations. You just lost a bit of nitrous that could have gone unused. You did this to yourself. You now have to buy extra nitrous because of that. So I hope Jack Frost and Santa Claus 3 was worth it because that's who's footing the bill now. Go call Martin Short and or Tim Allen for the nitrous payments for that. So.
Or maybe somehow take me to a dentist in actual Canada where they have better health insurance than we do.
Yeah, oh, that's
so
exactly.
Yep. Yeah. So, anyways, that's about all I have to say about this thing that tried to be a movie. Folks, if you enjoyed this and want to, celebrate the end of the year with us, check out our Patreon, check out our TeePublic, go to all2real2.com. You can find it all there. Also, be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it now. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or maybe Spotify if they allow you to do that. I don't even know. But anyways, wherever you can do a 5-star review, do that, if you like us. Send us any requests or anything to Mike at cullenpark.com or on one of our social media sites like our Facebooks or our TikToks or our X's. No, I think I'm getting rid of X's. But anyways, or Threads or something like that. Yeah, I haven't been posting on there, so I don't know. But I'm really liking TikTok, so check out TikTok. We have a TikTok. It's All Too Real 2 podcast, maybe. I don't know. It's just look up All Too Real 2 on TikTok and you'll find us. There's a link on the website. There's a link on the website, not a Lincoln on the website because
no, not a Lincoln.
No, because he was shot in Ford's Theater in 1863. But anyway, so anyways, folks, hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you had a halfway decent 2023. Hopefully 2024 is a lot better for the whole world. And I got a feeling it won't be. But anyway, so I'm being cynical. Just remember one thing that, if your heart is frozen, Lucy can warm it up. It sounds gross.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Not unexplained magical powers.
In unexplained magical powers with her hugs. I mean, well, and by the way, too, Lillian Mummy, who plays Lucy, by the way, I was going to mention this too, is the daughter of she's the daughter of Bill Mummy, who played Will Robinson on Lost in Space, the TV series. So anyways,
that's cool.
Yeah, she looks just like him.
Oh, wow.
In this movie, at least. Just basically him with long hair. And anyways, folks, just remember, warm those hearts, be kind to each other, know that I love you, Sesame loves you, and until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.